Hello, this is Ransom1690 back with another video, and today I'm going to talk about the school system and how much of a waste of time it is, how it does not prepare you for life. And so here we go. So when you go to school and shit, like first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, whatever, so on and so forth, they make you do all this fucking work. You gotta learn all this mathematics, learn English, learn science, history, and all of that shit. And it's all for you to make good grades. And after a certain point of doing that, you make some good grades. They fucking start doing pop quizzes and making you take these damn tests and shit. And they fucking encourage you by saying, okay, this is a big part of your grade point average. If you don't pass this test, then you're gonna have a low grade point average and I won't look good, this and that, whatever the fuck. And so they really drill that into you when you in primary school, that this is what you must do. And why? Just so you can make a good fucking grade. That's what I get from it, because all of the most important shit, like, teaching you how to get a career, how to start a business, you barely, if at all, learn that in fucking school. The majority of your time in primary school is just doing a bunch of shit to pass a goddamn test at the end of the 6th fucking week. At the end of, the whatever the fuck, the daily semester. And at the end of the 6 months, they throw this big ass test at you to see, okay, can you remember the shit that we taught you to pass this fucking test? And I think it's a really bullshit way to teach kids to learn, because you're not really fucking learning effectively like that, in my opinion. After you finish that goddamn test, you forget everything that you fucking have learned up to that point. You move on to the next subject, is usually what happens, and then the cycle repeats. You learn all this bullshit for a fucking test or a quiz that's gonna eventually come up, and then they test and quiz you on it, and once you pass, or whatever, all of that good shit, then you move on to the next damn subject, and you forget what the fuck you learned to pass that goddamn test. And so that continues all the way up until the end of the school year, when you have the big tests. That's the test that you have to take to move on to the next grade. And if you're at 12th grade and all of that, that's the test you take to graduate. So for us, I graduated in 2012, so it was called the tax test around that time. I don't know what the fuck it's called now, but that's how it is. And the story, after I graduated, I forgot all of that shit that I learned in school, and I was no closer to being prepared for life when I was 18 years old than when I was fucking 15 years old, 14 years old, 13 years old, because we spent all that time learning a bunch of bullshit just to pass a goddamn test. And what I said in my video life wants you to do a bunch of tedious stuff just to survive. I mentioned that all of these tests, this grade point average, the kids, students making all of these good grades, that's not for you. That's for the fucking school district to look good and get more funding. You making good grades, passing these quizzes, passing these tests, have nothing to do with your growth as an individual. It's all for this bullshit ass school system. So that's why when you sitting up in these fucking classes and they showing you all this bullshit indoctrination crap about how kids in America, you need to up their grades, they need to become smarter because kids in other countries is beating us out. They're smarter than the kids in America. That's the bullshit they were showing us in fucking school. And it was all pure propaganda, indoctrination. And so the reason why I'm making this video is because I just had a bit of a discussion with my mom and my stepdad about the subject. And it seemed like they were kind of getting the picture, but I had to keep questioning them on certain things, especially my mom, because she kept kind of going off task with it. I would tell her the same thing that I'm saying in this fucking video. Like, why the fuck do you need to spend all that goddamn time in primary school learning all this bullshit just to pass a fucking test, and then you forget the bullshit once you move on to the next subject matter? But if you want to take further education, the actual education that's gonna help you start a career to secure proper employment that's not working at a bullshit low-end warehouse or a fast food job, then you need to go to further schooling. You need to go to fucking college and pay for the bullshit and go into fucking debt, and then you come out with all this fucking debt, and then more than likely you still won't be able to get the job that you went to fucking school with. So I think that is a really counterproductive way to do schooling. So I proposed an idea, and I said, okay, instead of spending all of that time from first grade up to 12th grade learning all of this conglomeration of junk just to pass a fucking test, what if the school system was reformatted to where you learn all of your basics up till 6th grade? So that means from 1st grade to 6th grade, that's when you learn all your basic mathematics, your addition and subtraction, your multiplication, and likewise for English, learning how to read, how to fill out documents, how to write. And really, I think those are mainly the two skills that you need to enter this society with. So you learn that stuff, your basic writing, English, how to spell, your multiplication, your fucking addition, subtraction for math and all of that shit. And then when you get to 6th grade, the curriculum changes. Oh, and history, that's important too. Knowing your fucking rights, depending on what country you're in. For us, it's the 10 Amendments, the U.S. Constitution, knowing what your fucking laws are. They don't teach you that shit in school. At least they didn't teach us. I think that's a whole lot more important than learning about the goddamn Holocaust for the fucking 7th time each fucking year. Oh, Holocaust this, oh fucking you know what happened in the 1700s, which that's important because that has to do with the fucking US Constitution. But everything after that, we don't need to know what fucking, how King Henry or King George, I don't know, forgot his fucking name. I think his name was King George the Eighth. We don't need to know who this motherfucker was and how bad he was and how corrupt he was to the 13th colonies. That's irrelevant at this point. What we need to know is how the world functions today. We need to know our rights to protect ourselves from corruption, from corrupt police officers, from corrupt judicial systems. That's important too. That will be a part of the curriculum up until you reach the 6th grade. And after that, is when you're told, okay, so you know all of this basic stuff, you know how to add, how to subtract, how to read and write. You know your constitutional rights. You know your laws. Now, these things that you know, go outside and use this information to apply for part-time employment, and that will be a school curriculum from then on. You have this basic knowledge, now go outside, use it. Use your reading skills to fill out a job application. Use your English skills, I'm sorry, that's reading, the same damn thing, you know. But use your English skills to talk to an employer and apply for a job. And then you must come back and show proof that you have demonstrated these skills successfully. And the same thing with math. After you gain employment, you must use your addition and subtraction skills to manage money, to save money, and for your homework, you are to save up this much money by the end of this month. And you must get proof of it. You must bring in proof that you have saved this much money by the end of this month, and you get graded based on how much money you have saved at the end of the month. I think that's a good idea for a school system, because it's not just teaching you to learn a bunch of shit just to take a test and forget. It's actually teaching you how to integrate this stuff into regular society, into how to secure a job from a young age, into knowing how to manage money from when you're still in school, when you're 15 years old, 16 years old, hell, 14 years old. And that would be enough to prepare you for the basic minimum requirements of life. You know how to get a job. But let's say, okay, so I don't want to just work a run-of-the-mill retail or a fast food job for the rest of my life. So let's say I want a career in, let's say, gee whiz, accountant, or I want to be a mathematician or be a scientist or an archaeologist. Well, if you want to do those things, then that's where curriculum classes come in. And you know, in school, how you already have your curriculum classes, your extracurricular activities like football, art, music. Well, I would add the more advanced versions of what we learn in our core classes to that. And I would go a step further. I would add college courses to that. So what I'm proposing here is that everything you need to start a career, to start a business, to go and acquire a job in a high-paying field of what you want to do, you will be learning that all in primary school. That will all be accessible to you in primary school as extracurricular activities for you to take at your own leisure, at your own pace, and of your own choosing. So let's say if you want to do advanced art and you don't think you're gonna need science for doing that, you don't have to fucking take a damn class in advanced science if you just want to build a career around art. And vice versa, if you want to fucking pursue a career field in science, then you don't have to you don't have to take courses that's not related to science. It is all for you to focus on exactly what career path you want to take to gain employment in the field that you want to go to. And you're doing all of that in primary school. So that means you don't have to go to fucking college. You don't have to pay money. You don't have to go into debt. And now I gotta pay back all this money in student loans because I fucking went into debt trying to learn all this bullshit in college, and then it still may not be guaranteed for me to get the career that I went to school for. All of that is finished. College is finished. Everything you want to know about, everything you want to learn to pursue higher career is all accessible from primary school after the grade of 6, after the 6th grade. After that, you have the opportunity in primary school to pursue further education. And I think that is a great idea to make the school systems more relevant. So you have the basic material you learn from 1st grade up with math and English and history. And then from that point on, you can use those skills to pursue basic level of employment, and you get graded on that. Again, you get graded on how much you save money each month. You're graded on how well you were able to interview. You must record your interview for it to be considered for a grade. And if you want further education, then you can take extracurricular activities in school to pursue a higher career path That's a damn great idea, I think, as opposed to what we have now of going to this fucking school system, learning all of this bullshit, literally cramming all this shit for a goddamn test that ain't gonna mean a fucking thing when you graduate. And then you're told, oh, well, you gotta go to college and pay for it, literally pay for the actual fucking education that's supposed to increase your standard of living. That's bullshit. And I was talking to my mom about that, and she was saying, oh, well, they had all of that when we was in school, but our generation, we kept pushing for the wrong thing. We kept pushing for our kids to be into basketball, and this is the shit she was saying. And at first, it seemed like she was on page with what I was talking about, but then she would start talking about, well, and after they went to school, after they graduated, then they could pursue further education, supposedly trying to tell me that the suggestion that I'm proposing, it was in the school of their day, but yet they still had to go to fucking college to pursue the more advanced type of education for what they wanted to do as a high-paying job. And so I had to keep asking her, so are you talking about learning all of this in primary school? Or are you talking about going to college? Because it really sounds like you're just talking about the fucked up schooling system we have now, where you learn all that useless junk, and then they tell you, oh, well, go to college if you want a high-paying job. And from there, yeah, I repeated myself, yeah, you already know. Then you go into fucking debt and all of that shit. Yeah. Y'all get the picture at this point. I'm not gonna repeat it again. And she was basically just trying to justify that as a necessary system, saying things like, well, college, extra schooling is necessary because you need to have the credentials to access these higher paying jobs. And I told her, okay, so why is it like that? The only reason it's fucking like that to begin with is because of the way that this goddamn government has the whole school system set up right fucking now. If the school district did things the way that I was just proposing, if they actually followed my idea, then I guarantee you we wouldn't have any problems with needing credentials for a higher paying job. And on top of that, we wouldn't have fucking people going into debt or being overqualified for specific jobs because they're not fucking wasting all of that money at that point going to a separate school system to acquire all this knowledge, because that's what you go do when you go to college. You are paying money for extra education, and then you're getting told this may help you pursue a meaningful career path. And so, long story short, I basically disagree with her. I told her we are not on the same page, and it doesn't seem like that this conversation is going to come to a proper conclusion. So I just ended the conversation at that point. And and I really think it's bullshit that there is people like her defending the way that our system is now, because that further reinforces this divide shit we got going on. How we got people people of privileged backgrounds who has the money to go to college, who's able to do that because they have the financial support to do that. But the people who don't have the financial support to do that, they're fucked. They are fucked. And I don't see how you can justify a system that excludes people based on their financial situation. And so that's part one of my video. I don't know what I'm gonna title this video yet. I might title it the problems with the school system. I don't know yet, but this is part one, and I'll be back to you with part two. So stay tuned.